Hola chicos, ¿cómo va todo? Ok, so hoy vamos a seguir con el repaso de los verbos, pero vamos a ver los exámenes también. So we're going to carry on with our revision of verbs, but we're going to link them in to our examination as well. Okay, what we're going to have to be asked. So just to recap from what we saw last Friday, el viernes pasado, hemos visto 6 verbos. So we've seen 6 verb tenses even. So we've seen the preterite, the perfect, the present, present continuous, future, and conditional. And like I asked you to do last week, I'm just going to ask you to do a quick recap. I want you to use estudiar, and I want you to use yo, so the I form of estudiar. And I want you to put it into these 6 tenses. So you can pause the video now, write them out, see if you remember them, just so you're familiar with the 6 tenses. ¿Vale? Okay, so your answer should be estudié, I studied. Perdona, he estudiado, I have studied. ¿Vale? So, ¿qué hiciste el fin de semana pasado? If you get asked that in the oral examination, what did you do last weekend? ¿Qué hiciste anoche? Estudié, I studied. What did you do last night? ¿Cuántas asignaturas estudias? You might get asked. How many subjects do you study? Estudió 7 asignaturas. Or alternatively, you could say, estoy estudiando. I am studying 7 asignaturas. Estoy estudiando el español, el inglés, las matemáticas. What will you study next year if you go to university? Estudiaré los idiomas. I will study languages. And then I would estudiaría. Okay, so that's just a quick recap. So we're familiar with what each of those tenses are. Ready? Okay, but what I want you thinking about next and what I want us focusing on is how are you actually going to have to use this in an exam or in the exam scenario? Okay, so how are you actually going to be tested on it? And what do you need to know? Okay, so just having a quick think about the way that you're examined. Okay, so in your examination, you're going to be marked on 4 areas. Okay, so you're going to be marked on your ability to speak Spanish, so your oral examination. You're going to be marked on, sorry, that might be very clear, let me come down closer. Okay, you're going to be marked on your ability to understand it when you hear it, so your oral, your listening. You're going to be marked on your ability to read Spanish, so la lectura, the reading comprehensions. You're going to be marked on your ability to write Spanish, escribir en español, okay? And obviously in all these 4 areas that you're going to be assessed on, verbs are going to come up, okay? So you're going to have to be able to do 2 things with verbs. A, you're going to have to be able to recognize them, so recognition, and in turn then translate them, okay? And B, you're going to have to be able to form them, so formation. Okay, and the recognition, so when are you going to need to be able to recognize them and translate them back to English? That's going to come up in the listening, and it's going to come up in the reading, okay, with some of the activities that follow the reading comprehensions, and we'll look at that today. When are you going to have to form them? In the oral exam. You're going to have to be able to flick between talking about the past, the present, and the future, because the examiner will test you on as many tenses as he or she can. Okay, and then the next time you're going to have to use them or form them is in the written. Okay, and thinking back to the paper, you have 3 different written tasks. Okay, so the first thing you're going to have to write is your opinion piece. Okay, you'll have a choice of 2, but you'll have to write an opinion piece. The second thing you'll do is your dialogue. You have the option, obviously, of doing the formal letter, but it's most likely we'll do the dialogue. And then the third thing you'll have to write is your diary entry or your note. So what we're going to focus on today, this lesson, is preparing our verbs for the written part of the paper. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Okay, so obviously on the written paper you're going to have reading comprehensions. And in order for you to be able to understand them a lot better, it's quite important that you know what tense they've been written in. Okay, so even if we just have a quick scan, let's take this second paragraph here, okay? Sorry if it's a little bit blurry, guys. This visualizer's not amazing. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at our second paragraph. We've got explica, so she explains. Lo que ha pasado, what has happened. En 1966 se declaró, it was declared. ¿Vale? ¿Qué más tenemos? Hay, there is or there are. Es la única, it is the only. Okay, so it will help you with your comprehension of the reading, with your understanding of the reading comprehension. But then the second time you're going to need to know your tenses is if we just look at the kind of tasks that we're going to get asked on the reading comprehension. Okay, so one part of it is going to be part 2 here, if you just take a look at it. So write in English the meaning in the context of the following phrases. So if you just go back to what I previously said, you are going to need to be able to recognize the tenses. You are going to need to be able to translate. That's going to come up in the reading comprehension. Okay, so if we just take a look here. Trabajan, they work. And you're also going to need to know your infinitive. So we've got proteger, to protect, y aumentar, to increase. Okay, los conocemos, we know. And se han establecido, so they have established, or new populations have been established. So it's very important that you know your tenses and that you translate these into the correct tense, because you will not get the full marks in the exam if you don't do that. Okay, if we just look back up here to the first part, so in this section, what you have to do is find phrases in the text that have a similar meaning to the following. Okay, so if we just take that third one there, okay, planeó el proyecto, by looking at that, you guys should be able to see that it's past tense and it's third person. Okay, let me just have a look what paragraph that's in. It's in paragraph 4. Okay, so you're looking for something that looks similar to this. He or she planned the project. Vale? And it's in paragraph 4. Okay, so if we just zoom down there into paragraph 4. Okay, I want you having a look there and seeing, can you see anything? Can you see anything that is third person and it's past? You know it's going to end in an O. Aquí lo tiene. Diseño el programa. Miguel, he designed the program. Okay, so it will help you with those 2 parts of the reading comprehension. Okay, so guys, that's an overview of just a little bit of how we're going to use these verbs in the reading comprehension. We will look next week at some listening work. But what I want to focus on now for this lesson today, hoy y mañana, today and tomorrow, is how we're going to actually have to form the verbs, okay, in the written section for the moment. We're not going to look at the oral, just the written. Okay, so if we just have a quick look through the papers, you'll remember your dialogues. Okay, so your dialogue is where you're going to have to write up 5 paragraphs and show your translation skills. Okay, and if you see there, there's going to be loads of different verbs, loads of different tenses. So what I have done is gone through the last few years of papers. Okay, so 2012 hasta 2019, so from 2012 to 2019. Okay, and I've looked at the diary entries, I've looked at the notes, and I've looked at the dialogues, and I've just had a look at the kind of things that they ask you. Okay, so there's 2 reasons I want you looking at this. 1, obviously, it's going to be great practice for you, but 2, it's going to obviously help you identify patterns. So you'll probably notice that similar things or similar verbs are coming up year after year. So it should help you to specialize in verbs, to see which verbs are the most common verbs that come up on the paper, and then be able to conjugate those in your different tenses. Okay, so over the next 2 days, we're going to look at tenses that we have looked at recently, so that are kind of fresh in our heads. So we're going to look at el futuro, so we're going to look at the future. We're going to look at el presente perfecto, the present perfect. We're going to look at the present continuous, that doesn't come up too much. And we're going to look at el condicional, so the condition of the future. You will notice here, guys, I've numbered them obviously. Present tense comes up a lot, so it is a tense you need to be strong on. Okay, and I'm just going to model how I would like you to approach this task. Okay, so I'm going to just start with the future. Obviously, I'll detail on the PowerPoint everything I want you to do. Okay, and the first thing I want you to do is recall the tense. Okay, so a little bit of retrieval practice. And I basically want you to think, right, how is this tense formed? Okay, you can pause it if you want to do this and then compare what you've written to me. Step 1, or step A I'll call it, is for the future. I know I keep the infinitive. So I keep the full verb with the A or E or I or. Second thing I do then is I add my ending. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly recap in my brain, or using my brain, what the endings are. A, as, a, amos, ice, an. Okay, so that's clear in my head. So that's the first thing I want you to do. The second thing is a recall activity as well. And instead of just diving straight in and translating them, or putting them into the future tense, I want you to do a recall on the verbs. Okay, so just having a look there. Let's see what verbs you can remember. Okay, so you can pause the video now if you like and see how many of these you can write. And then compare what you have to me. So to drive, conducir. To need, hacerse falta or necesitar. To return, volver. To stay, quedarse. You might be thinking, what's the word for granny? Or alojarse. It will be, ser, understand, comprender. I will buy, the verb to buy, comprar. I am going, or I will go to see the doctor, ir y ver. I will be back. We've seen that one already actually. Volver or regresar, to return. I will ring. So I will call the hotel, llamar. Vale, llamar. I hope is the verb esperar. And improve, we see that a lot coming up, mejorar. Vale? It will be good to relax. It will be. Okay, we've seen to be already. Our other to be is estar. To relax, relajarse. I will not be able to go. We know the verb to be able is poder. And we've seen to go already, ir. And I will have to work hard. Okay, so to have to, tener que. To work, trabajar. Okay, so I do want you to approach all of the tasks, so the conditional, the future, present perfect and continuous like that. This is recall, it's just seeing what you can remember, and anything you don't know, obviously, then you'll need to look up in a dictionary. Okay, so any questions, ask me, but everything will be clearly explained on the PowerPoint. Gracias.